Yeah. So what I was just saying, which is kind of a reminder of the course schedule. And again, so the link here is in the navigation pane for Blackboard. And it's just a good way to keep track of what we're doing, what we're going to do, and what your homework assignments are. So just a reminder for that. And then so today, these are things we're going to be going over in class today. So looking at feedback on an assignment, it's really easy to do, but it does take a few clicks to get to it. So I want to make sure that you're seeing all of the feedback that's on there. Your free writing and your brainstorming, everyone that turned it in this morning, fantastic job. All around, really good. We're going to talk about clustering and mapping, which is another form of pre-writing. It's just another way to kind of generate ideas, get your thoughts out onto the page, and in this way, in kind of a more organized fashion. And then we're going to talk about something that's called an idea matrix, which might be a little bit different. It's a form of outlining that for this course could work really, really well, especially when we get to a lot of outside research using outside sources. Something a little bit better than a traditional outline is a pretty good idea. So we'll talk about that as well. And then just really quickly, we're going to go over what a thesis statement is, or a thesis sentence, as this textbook calls it. So we'll talk a little bit about those as well. And so for your homework for this week, so by Friday morning, you want to complete a clustering or a mapping diagram, and I'll show you a few different ways to do that. And then by Monday morning, you want to submit your idea matrix, and I'll show you exactly what that is and where to find that as well. So this one's a little bit different than the last one, that there's one due date on Friday and there's one on Monday. Now, if you finish the idea matrix by Friday, you want to submit it before then, no problem. You can always submit these things earlier. You just don't want to submit them much later. So with these ones, excuse me, viewing feedback is important, especially when it's stuff that we're working on that's building towards an essay, or if it's an essay that you're going to revise. Being able to see my feedback is really important. If we're in like a regular face-to-face classroom, it would historically just be like, you print out an essay, I write out my comments on the essay, and I give you back the essay with my comments. So it's the same kind of thing. It's just done in a digital way. And so to do it for this class, when you're on Blackboard, you just click on My Grades. So you want to click on My Grades once you're in our class, and you'll see kind of like the grade book. So these are all the different assignments that are already available on Blackboard. And if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see a few different things. If you see a number here, that means that I've already graded it. All right. So in this example, the free writing assignment has already been graded, and there's some feedback here. If you look at this one, there's this little yellow circle with an exclamation point. This says that you have submitted the assignment and it's just waiting for me to grade it. So the exclamation point is really for me to look at, not for you. So if you see that, don't freak out or panic thinking that it means that something is wrong with your assignment. It's really just alerting me that you've submitted it and that it's ready to be graded. All right. But so when you have these ones, so this one's actually graded, I've gotten feedback on it already. If you click on the actual assignment title, so in this example, free writing, I'm just going to click on free writing. It'll take me to the page that looks very similar to the submission page. All right. Except I've already graded it. So you'll see your assignment right here, whichever assignment it was, and you'll see some highlighting and things like that. Now, there's a lot of things to do because it's really, really tiny. It's hard to see. So one thing you can do is you can minimize everything else. To do that, if you move the cursor, do you see this little bitty thing pop up? If you click on that, that'll hide the course menu. If you want to see it again, you just click on that little bar again, it'll bring it back over. So that kind of hides that and makes this a little bit bigger. Same thing with here, there's an arrow on the right-hand side. So right above the grade, there's a little bitty arrow. If you click on this arrow, it'll minimize that. Now you have a full view of all of the information here. So you can see that your work or your essay, your free writing, whatever the assignment is, will be right here. And my comments will be off to the side here. Anytime you click on one of the comments, it kind of pops out, and it's hard to tell, but it gets a little bit brighter here. So you can see that it's this one right here. If I click on this comment, this one pops forward. So whichever one you click on, the comment that's associated with it will kind of jump out to the foreground. So if I'm looking at this one, this pops out. If I'm looking at this one, this will pop out, right? If you see one and you can't click on it, that means it's just something that I've just highlighted. Typically, I'll just highlight something when I just want to draw your attention to it. Often it's like a misspelled word that if you just look at that word, you'd be like, oh yeah, I misspelled that word. So it's usually something pretty obvious. It could be, especially if it's further down in an assignment, if it's something that I've already commented on, I'll just highlight if you're having the same kind of issue just to draw your attention to it, to say, hey, you're still doing the same kind of problem in this example as well. But you can just click on these to read the comment that associates with each one of them. All right. So that's one way to look at them. It's not the best way because you have to do all that work to make the screen actually readable. You have all those different ones here. The easiest way to actually look at it is if you look at the toolbar right up here, you can print it out, which you can do if you have a printer, or just download it. So if you click on the download button, just this one right here, you'll actually download a PDF. I'll just save it to the desktop that has all of my feedback on it. So it's the same information. It's just in a much easier user-friendly kind of way. So it's got these, and here, when I hover my cursor above it, the comment pops right up. So that's the exact same comment, but it's just easier to see. It's all in one document, just like that. And as you scroll through, you'll have a bunch of different ones as well. All right. So that's just how you read general feedback on the essays like that. All right. Again, download it and then just open up the file. Easiest way to do it. On the right-hand side of this page here, it says feedback to learner. Here, I'll just usually put like a few little things, maybe like a summary about the feedback on the entire work, whatever it was. In this example, it says, overall, a good draft. Keep working on adding specific details to show the reader what you mean. So some general information. The specific feedback is going to be on all these pages here. Right? That's why you want to download this one, look at that file, and be able to see all the different comments that I made. Make sure you understand what it is that I'm pointing out. If you have questions about my feedback, definitely ask me. You can say, hey, I saw that you said this on this assignment. I'm not sure what you meant, or could you clarify what you meant by that? Absolutely, no problem. All right. But it's just it's the easiest way to look at the feedback, download it right there. And again, to make sure that you have feedback, click on my grades. If you see a grade and you click on it, there's some feedback. This little bubble, if you click on it, it's just that little bitty summative comment. Overall, good draft, keep working on adding specific details, blah, blah, blah. So this is just that little bitty thing that showed up on the right side of it over here. That's not all of the feedback. That's just a little bitty piece of it. So you want to make sure you click on my grades and then you click on the actual assignment for it. All right. Some assignments will have a lot more feedback than others. Sometimes I'll just read through it. If there's no problems, you'll just get a grade and that's it. If I read through it and there are problems, I'll point them out for you. All right. Any questions about looking at your feedback on your graded assignments?
I have a question related to the feedback I received.
Yeah.
I don't know if my email is working correctly. Have you received any emails from me? Because I have sent you two.
I don't believe so.
All right, I will get those sent to you through a different service then. Awesome.
Yeah, try it out. And as soon as you send me one, I'll email you back right away, just so we can make sure that open communication lane is there. Yeah, that's a very important question.
Yeah, the comments that you leave on all of the assignments here, I directly answered with one of the emails. That's why I was curious.
Interesting. Yep. Yeah, try something else. We're using your Canon mail?
I was using the Canon mail that I've set up on the Outlook system on my actual PC. And it just gave me an alert this morning saying that it's not sending mail to look in the outbox for it's storing it there or something.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, you might have to actually contact IT and do something with that account. I'm not sure. That's yeah, that could definitely be a problem though. Yeah, try something else and let me know if it works or not. Or if I get an email, then I'll know and I'll definitely let you know that it's working. All right. So you do always want to come back here. You can look at your total grades on the MyJCC like homepage, but you won't get these detailed assignment ones like this. So make sure that you're actually going into the class and then looking at my grades here. All right. For the, I had planned to talk about the free writing and the brainstorming, but basically all the ones that I saw, everyone that turned it in, really good job. It was clear that you understood how to take a topic and kind of generate some ideas about it. Some of you did better on the free writing than on the brainstorming. And the really key part about all of this, and we'll talk about clustering and mapping in a second, but these are all different forms of pre-writing. So all of these are just different techniques that are supposed to help you generate ideas towards an essay. One of them might work better for someone than another one works for somebody else. So some people, they love free writing. They love just sitting there and saying, okay, I'm just going to write whatever pops in my head. I'm going to type it on the page. I'm going to do it for, a set amount of time, or I'm going to do it for a certain number of pages. And for some people, that just works really, really well. It really helps you get a lot of ideas out of your head. For some people, they like brainstorming. They like little lists. They like short bullet points of words and phrases. And that's a better way for them to get ideas out of their head. The really key part is figure out which one seems to work best for you and keep using that one, right? For different kinds of essays, maybe a different form of pre-writing could be better or worse. There's no one right answer for any one of these. It really is heavily dependent on each one of y'all individually in terms of which one works better for you. But try to get a sense for which ones seem to be working for you. And remember that. So moving ahead, when you work on more and more writing, you can keep doing the same types of exercises that seem to work well for you. Because in the long run, the goal is to generate better content, which is going to help you write an essay faster, and it's going to be much easier for you. So that's kind of the goal of all of those things. With clustering and mapping, most people have done these before. There's 100,000 different names for it. But if you look in learning modules, remember we're in module 1 still, and we're looking at essay 1 content. And again, these are all kind of the textbook pages. I just want to show you a few of the things about clustering and mapping. And again, with these, if you fully understand everything and you know how to do it, just kind of plug right along with it. This one's really short, and just looking at some of these diagrams should look kind of familiar. Anything that looks like this, right? So a clustering diagram or a mind mapping diagram. I'm trying to think of what your other names your high school teachers might have used for them. But they're all basically graphic ways to organize your brainstorming, your free writing, any of your ideas. It's just a graphic interface for that. So we look at something like this one, how to mind map. Let's make that a little bit bigger. So it says how to mind map. And then one of the little tree roots says keywords. Another one says think. Another one says graphical. Another one says color. And you can tell this is English because I spelled color with a U. And then off of like these ones, so off of keywords, we have images, onlines, readable font, memorable, lowercase. Under think, we have freely, beyond A4, creatively, explore, risk, relationships. And so it's kind of a branching tree for kind of a mind map, right? And it doesn't matter what your topic is. It doesn't matter how simple or how sophisticated your essay topic is. You can easily create a mind map or a cluster to do that. What's nice about these is it's kind of like brainstorming because you can imagine all of these being in a list, right? But it's an organized way of brainstorming. So it kind of does two things at once. It's already helping you organize the essay possible topics. So if you're going to write an essay about how to mind map, you already know that one of your paragraphs is going to be about keywords. One of them is going to be about thinking. One of them is going to be about graphical, and one of them is going to be about color. So it's a visual representation of how the essay can be organized. And then the little further roots off of this one are going to be the specific things you discuss within each paragraph. So in the paragraph about keywords for mind mapping, I can talk about images, I can talk about onlines, I can talk about readable font, all these other things. And because I've organized it this way, I know all of these are going to fit with this specific part of my map, right? And so it's really easy to take a brainstorm like you all have already done and then turn it into a mind map or a cluster diagram, right? The only real difference between a mind map and a cluster is the graphical look of it. So this is a mind map because it's all just lines. And if you just look at here, oh, it's circles instead of just lines. The exact same organizational scheme. It's just some people prefer circles and things like that versus just lines and things like that. Whichever one you use, it doesn't really matter as long as you know how to do it, all right? So a lot of people, you can draw them on paper and just do like a mind map just like this. You can do the circle ones just like this. If you watch this video, it kind of walks you through exactly how to build one, but you can do that on your own. It's not an overly complicated topic, right? But what I did want to show you is just below it. Here's another example one. And this is one using this, website. So I just wanted to show you an example. And I just made this very quickly this morning just to show you another way they could look. So here I have this is my main idea, right? This is what's going to turn into my thesis statement, impact of music, right? So I don't exactly know what I want to write about yet, but I know that my topic is something about the impact of music. So I made that the center of my little cluster chart here. And then each of the main lines off of it go to one of my main topics. So I have cultural impact. I have the impact of mood, and I have lifestyle as an impact, right? So these are my three main ideas, right? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean this is going to be one paragraph, this is going to be one paragraph, and this is going to be one paragraph. It could be. If it's a shorter essay, if it's only like 2 pages, maybe 3 pages, each one of these could end up being one paragraph, right? But the more that you keep going with this, you can see how you could even better organize the essay. So if I talk about impact of music and cultural impact of music, let's say I talked about the introduction of music from a home country, such as the African music influence or the Spanish music influence, right? If I'm talking about American music and I talk about the influence from these countries, that's a whole nother kind of subgenre of the impact of music, right? So now maybe I'm going to write a whole paragraph about how traditional African music influences people's music on a cultural basis in America, right? That could be one paragraph. Maybe I got to talk about the cultural influence of Spanish music in America. That could be a whole nother paragraph. So now instead of cultural being one paragraph, it's really 2 different paragraphs. And this is a good visual graphical way to see how you could develop those paragraphs. If I talk about how it represents where people live, right? If I think about especially rap and hip hop from its inception, from like the 70s and 80s, right? That was a huge game changer because up to that point, people that lived in these inner cities didn't have a music that really represented their life, where they live, where they come from. So this was a really big thing, right? I said real country music, and I mean like non-pop country that really talks about the roots of people and family and loss of land, classic country or old people's country, if you want to think of it that way, right? So that represents certain people that live in those kinds of areas, right? This could be another paragraph. So using just this visual mind map, I can see, well, wait a minute. If I have a paragraph about African influence on music and a paragraph about Spanish influence on music and a paragraph about rap and hip hop and how it represents where they live and about country music and how it represents where they live, well, that's 4 paragraphs already. Maybe instead of writing about the lifestyle, the mood, and the culture of music, I'm just going to focus on these things instead. And you can do that, right? If you have enough information, if you know enough about these 4 different things, this could make up the bulk of your entire essay. So doing a visual representation like this can actually guide you to a more fine-tuned and focused essay as well. Let's say I don't know enough about these to where all these 2, African influence and Spanish influence, only turn into 1 paragraph, and rap, hip hop, and country only turn into 1 paragraph. Well, that's only 2 body paragraphs. That's not enough for an essay. So now I know, okay, I need at least 1 more of these. So maybe I talk about lifestyle and the impact of music, or I talk about mood and the impact of music. And on this side, I've done the same kind of thing, right? So the general subcategory of mood, I've talked about, well, it makes people happy and it can make people sad, right? Kind of the 2 polar opposites there. So underneath happy, I have it reminds people of good times. It can make people dance. It feels good to share music with friends. Under makes people sad. It could be a reminder of loved ones that have been lost, or it can make people wish for the old days. Back in the day, things were so much better when I listened to these bands or something like that, right? And so maybe I end up focusing my essay on these things. Each one of these could turn into a body paragraph. And then maybe my entire essay only focuses on this part of the diagram, right? Just the impact of music on people's moods and all of these things. And then in the essay, I never even have to talk about any of this stuff over here, right? So it's just a mind map or a clustering diagram. It's just a really good visual representation of how you could organize all of these ideas that you've already had. So it's really easy to take like a brainstorming list and then convert it into one of these to really see what it is you have to work with. Excuse me. Again, if you're just a pen and paper kind of person, you could easily just write this out on a sheet of paper. And then when you want to upload it, just take a picture of it and upload the image. For the image, it doesn't matter what kind of image it is. It's pretty easy to take a picture with your smartphone and then just email the picture to yourself, right? And then you can download it to your computer and upload it. I haven't tried to upload a picture using the Blackboard app, but you could try that, see if it works, right? Or if you want to do a digital one, there's a bunch of different ways to do a digital one. You can do it using Microsoft Word, although it's not the most user-friendly thing, but it does work. Another thing that you could do, and I put this on here. So again, this is the Essay1 content, and I just put a link to this website, and that's actually how I created this one right here. And it's called MindMup or MindMup. And it's free and you don't have to sign up for it. Okay. So you can just create a free map. And that's what I did. So I'll just show you what it looks like. If you don't sign up, and signing up has a fee associated with it, so you don't want to do that. But when you create one, you want to make sure you download it. So I'll show you how to do that. It's really user friendly though. So it says press space or double click to edit. So all you do is you double click that. And this is the starting point of your mind map. So you just put in your major topic here. So whatever it is here, you just type it in there. And I said, I'll just copy the old one I did. What I say, impact of music. Right? So I'm going to say impact of music. And I should probably spell it properly. And then you just hit enter and it kind of saves it. Right. So now that I have here, there's my beginning one. When I want to do a little like root, a little shoot off of it, you just click this one. It says insert child node. So because I had this selected, it's going to do what they call a child and turn this into the parent. So just click that and this box opens up, right? What did I say for that one? Cultural and lifestyle. All right. So I'm going to click insert child node, say cultural, hit enter, right? And that saves that one. If I click on this again, because I want to make another one over here, again, child node, and it pops up over here, right? So over here, I think I said mood. Yay. If I want a third one, make sure you click on the one you meant. So I want it to come off of this one, impacted music. Click on that, then insert child node, and then lifestyle. And it's going to save that. And then when I want to make offshoots off of these ones, I just make sure these are selected. So let's say cultural, and I hit that one, and I say, let's say hip hop. Yay. If I want to do another one off of cultural, make sure I click on cultural, click that, and say rap. Yay. I want to do another one off cultural, whatever it is, I do country. And you can keep doing that. If you want to go further and further with these ones, you just click on the one you want to do. So let's say hip hop. I'm going to say 70s. Click on hip hop again, another child node, let's say 80s, whatever it is you want to do, right? And this is nice because when you handwrite them, if you make something too small or too big, it's not easy to move around. So digitally, it's kind of nice. The key part with this is you can't save it, right? So what you want to do, well, it says save right here, but if you click save file, it saves it, but you haven't done anything with it. It's only saved it to their like online free access. Here are lots of examples of things, right? But if you click on publish, you got all these different things here and you can publish it and create it there. And then it's always available there, right? But again, that's only if you wanted to sign up for an account, which don't do it. I don't recommend doing that. I just like this because it looks nice. But you can always, oh, where did it go? Download as, there we go. So if you're over here, just click on file and then download as, and then I just do a PDF because I like PDFs, right? You can do like an SVG. These are all image files, but PDF looks nice. So if you download as a PDF, you just click export, it'll save it for you, and then download it. Yay, and I have a nice little PDF of the mind map that I just created, right? So the bad thing about this is once I log out of here, once I close this page, I can't come back and just edit this one. That's why you want to make sure that you save a copy of it so you could edit it manually if you ever wanted to, right? But it's a pretty user-friendly one. It's just this link right here. Again, click on the link. Create a free map, right? You don't have to sign up. You certainly don't subscribe and pay for any of that kind of stuff. Create a free map and then just start doing your kind of thing, right? All these tools, you don't have to really use them. Just remember this one right here, right? And if you mess up, it's not a big deal. I'll show you, like, let's say if you mess up here, yay, like say I clicked on this one by accident and did this one. Oh no, I didn't click anything together. I made two main ones. Doesn't really matter, right? You just click on it, delete. Super easy to use, right? All right. And that was really quick. Questions about this mind map one here? All right. And again, you don't have to do it this way. I know some people love digital stuff. I love digital stuff. Again, if you would prefer just to get a sheet of paper and create your little cluster diagram of your mind map and take a picture of it, no problem whatsoever with that.
For those of us that really like hard copies of stuff, does this also apply to free writing and brainstorming? If we do it handwritten, do you still want us to type it up?
For those ones, yeah, because I can't comment on them on Blackboard unless it's like a digital file, like a Word document. Does that make sense?
Yep, all good.
Okay, yeah. Someone said Genius Scan is an excellent choice for scanning pictures from your smartphone. I've never used that. Does Genius Scan like orient it properly and make it look really nice or something?
It's free and it works the same as like a standard scanner, but just like you're taking a picture, it'll line it up and you hold it steady and it will do the scan itself and
Oh,
then translate it into the most visible, readable document. I do
that
it for
sounds
all of
good.
my
I'm
special
writing that
safety
down.
documents.
Yeah, because at work I have access to an actual scanner, but not at home. So that'd be nice to have. Thanks, Michelle. All right. So again, with these ones, excuse me. And if you've never done clustering or mapping, what I just showed you is exactly it. It's not hard. You can easily take your brainstorming you've already done and just plug in those word and terms into a little diagram like that. All right. So it's not super difficult to do. And again, right now we're still kind of practicing with things, right? This one sounds more complicated, but it's really not. It's just new for most people. So it's called an idea matrix. And if you click on this, I'm going to go through most of this actually. So it says how to create an idea matrix. And don't let the word matrix scare you. It's really just a grid. It's a bunch of squares. All right. And that's all a matrix really is. So it says write your topic and your assertion about that topic. This is basically your thesis, whatever the main idea of your essay is. Your thesis is a working thesis because you may find that you need to circle back and revise it as you develop your supporting ideas and details. And even if you don't know that you've done this, you have always done this. Your thesis is always a working thesis until your paper is done, basically. And working thesis means it's like a work in progress. This is your main idea right now. But as you write more and more content, as you write body paragraphs and you write supporting details, your main idea might shift and change a little bit. Maybe you started with one main idea, and as you wrote, it kind of turned into a slightly different one. All you have to do is go back and reword your thesis, work it back a little bit more. And so your thesis is still the main idea of the entire paper, right? So once you have a general idea, a working thesis about what you're talking about, then you can start to generate supporting ideas. And most of you have already done this in your free writing and in your brainstorming. And you'll have these once you finish your mind map or your cluster diagram as well. Then the important part is adding details to them, right? So you have a main idea, you have a way to support that main idea, and now you're going to create details to make sure that supporting idea is clear to the reader. And then it just looks like this, all right? So this is the matrix. It's just a table grid, basically. So you have your supporting ideas or your topic sentence, whatever it is you're saying, each of your main ideas here. So your topic sentences are basically the main idea for a paragraph. So you're going to write that down here and then details that will support that main idea. If you have more details or a different detail that will support the same main idea, you just write it in this box. If you have a third one, you write it in this box, right? Then you move on to your next supporting idea or your second topic sentence. Again, add details right here that support that one. Add details, secondary details if they still support the same one. If you have third details, add them there to support that as well, right? So not all of these boxes will be filled, but each of your supporting ideas should have at least one detail that supports it, right? And that's all that the idea matrix is. It's basically an outline, but done in a kind of table form instead. So all you have to do is write down your working thesis at the top and then fill in the rest of these, right? So it's pretty simple. So I'll show you an example here. So if my working thesis is eating too much heavily processed food can lead to a number of harmful effects on a person's health, right? And most of us are like, duh, but they're writing about it. They're talking about that. This is their working thesis. This is the main idea of their paper, that eating too much heavily processed foods is bad for a person's health, right? Under supporting ideas, higher salt and sugar intake, right? If you eat a bunch of heavily processed food, most of those foods typically contain higher salt and sugar, right? So you're taking in more salt and sugar, right? Typically, heavily processed foods also don't have as much fiber as homemade from scratch kinds of foods. So another supporting idea could be lower fiber intake. Another supporting idea could be higher fat intake. Another supporting idea could be empty calories, right? Because highly processed food is usually really high in calories, but not a lot of substance and protein and stuff behind it, right? So if you want to think about like Twinkies or think about like McDonald's burgers and fries and things like that, it kind of checks every one of these boxes, right? It's high in salt and sugar, not really high in fiber, it's high in fat, and it's really high in empty calories, right? So these are all the supporting ideas. Right now, I've brainstormed some ideas and I think I can write a paragraph about each one of these, right? So I'm going to keep going, filling out my idea matrix, right? Under higher salt and sugar intake, one of the details is it can harm blood pressure. Because if I have way too much salt in my diet, my blood pressure is probably going to go up. That's bad, right? Another detail is I have a higher risk of cardiovascular disease. If I have more salt and sugar in my diet and I have higher blood pressure, I'm at a higher risk for cardiovascular disease, right? Also, it can lead to elevated blood sugar, pre-diabetes, diabetes. If I have way too much sugar in my diet, I can have this here. So all three of these are related to my supporting idea, but they're all siloed, right? That can all be talked about individually, even though they all link together to support this idea. If you think of more, you can always add another box off to the side here as well, right? Under higher fat intake, I have, well, it can harm your cholesterol, but I couldn't think of anything else, right? For lower fiber intake, I thought about that as an idea, but now I'm not really sure. I can't think of any details to support that idea. But for empty calories, I got a bunch of stuff. I said, well, the body is not getting the nutrients it needs if I'm only filling up on empty calories, right? Poor nutrition can lead to more frequent illnesses, such as colds, right? That's bad. Because if I'm only having a bunch of empty calories and I'm not getting the nutrients and vitamins that I need for my food, I can get sick easier, right? It can also lead to weight gain, right? And that could be a whole bunch of other issues, right? So right now, all of these details help support the idea about empty calories found and too much heavily processed food that can lead to a bunch of harmful effects on a person's health. All right. So I'm going to keep going with this. So she decided that she didn't really have much to say about fiber, so she's going to get rid of that supporting idea. All right. She realized that the history of heavily processed foods didn't provide an idea that supported her assertion about harming health, so that one's gone. She needed to say more about fat intake, so she added more details to the fat intake one. And then she tweaked and added details overall. So then the final one looked like this one. Eating too much, so working thesis, eating too much heavily processed food can lead to a number of harmful effects on a person's health, right? Supporting ideas. The higher salt and sugar content of heavily processed foods may harm a person's heart and blood systems. That's a very specific topic sentence. I will begin a body paragraph with this. Within that body paragraph, I'm now going to discuss how it can harm blood pressure. And I can talk about all the ill effects about that. I can talk about how it leads to a higher risk of cardiovascular disease, and I can discuss that for a little bit. It may lead to elevated blood sugar or pre-diabetes, and I can discuss that for a little bit. So all of these details I can develop further, all in a paragraph about this main idea right here. All right.
So it's kind of like the essay has like a thesis statement, but then every little paragraph also has a thesis statement as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of a way that helps a lot of people think of it as the thesis statement is the main idea for the entire essay. These are topic sentences, or these ones right here. A topic sentence is kind of like the thesis statement for a paragraph. It's the main idea for that entire paragraph. So a topic sentence does the same work as a thesis, just in a smaller way, right? So similarly with the second one here, this is another topic sentence, another supporting idea. Most heavily processed foods are high in fat, and a higher fat intake may harm cholesterol, as well as raise the risk of certain cancers. So I can talk about how it's going to heighten bad cholesterol, how it can lead to weight gain, and how it can be a factor in more cancers. All three of these details help support this idea. And this idea helps support my thesis idea. So they always work kind of in tandem like that. Your working thesis will be supported by your topic sentences. Your topic sentences will be supported by the details. And then repeat, 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 just with different supporting ideas and different details. And no matter what kind of essay you're writing, or no matter what your essay topic is, that process is still exactly the same. It's always going to be like that, right? Your thesis is the main idea for the paper. Your topic sentences are the main supporting ideas that support the thesis. And the details within each body paragraph help prove the supporting idea for that paragraph. Do the same thing over and over and over again. That's all you're ever doing, right? What I meant earlier by saying that this is a working thesis, right? So right now, my thesis is eating too much heavily processed food can lead to a number of harmful effects on a person's health, right? Well, let's say I rate this and I'm like, well, this is pretty good. But I also thought about, well, what about like emotional health, right? All these are about physical health, right? None of these are really about emotional health. So maybe when I tweak my thesis, I'll make sure to focus on heavily processed food can lead to a number of harmful effects on a person's physical health to make it more specific and clear to what my essay actually talks about. On the other hand, let's say I develop a fourth body paragraph or 4 or 5 body paragraphs about how heavily processed foods can impact mental health. Now I can expand my thesis to talk about physical and mental health and its harmful effects on it, right? So you can always alter your thesis just to make sure that it matches the content of the paper itself. So it's always a constant back and forth kind of process. You work on your thesis, then you work on all of these, then you work on your details. Double check, does my thesis still really indicate the main idea of all this stuff that I'm talking about? If all this stuff fits together, but it doesn't match the thesis, change the thesis. That's the easiest thing to change, right? All right, questions about that right now? All right. And so that's the idea matrix here. If you go to Blackboard and you go to the essay 1 content, oh, sorry, not the essay 1 content, go to Blackboard. Again, we're still in module 1, the assignments. So one of the assignments, so there's the clustering and mapping one to submit. Here's the idea matrix one to submit. Here is a Word doc for the matrix. So instead of creating your own, just go to the assignment folder and download this one right here, idea matrix for writing.docx. If you open that up, I just save it to the desktop and I'll share it with you.
Thank you in advance for this.
That's really slow today. There we go. All right. Everybody see my blank idea matrix for writing? Oops.
All good here.
All right. So with this, it looks exactly like that page. It's just a digital version of it. So you can download this one and then just type in your stuff right there, right? So if you prefer to do things digitally like that, just download the document and just write the stuff in there. If the spacing gets all wonky, that's okay, as long as it's still clear to see what you're talking about. So you can just write in your working thesis right here. And then here it kind of tells you again what to write in here. So supporting idea or your topic sentence assertion 1 goes here. And then the details for it goes right here. You can just simply delete that and then type in whatever your supporting idea is right there. Same thing with the details, just delete all that. Oops. And then type in your details right there. If you have a bunch, it can do that kind of thing. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Right? Don't even worry about that. Also, you don't have to fill up all 4 of these columns for details. Maybe one of your supporting ideas has lots of different details. Maybe another one only has 1 or 2. Nothing wrong with that at all, right? So you can just download that and fill it out. If you forgot where this is at, on that same page for this one that we were just looking at on the Wakelet, if you scroll to the very bottom of the page, it's right here as well. So there's the idea matrix for writing. This one, the research writing one, is a little more complicated, so don't use this one for this essay. We will use this for a later essay though. But if you click on this one,
We
it's the
can't
exact
see
same
what
thing.
you're clicking on right now. You just
Oh,
see the
sorry, I didn't
idea
change it. I forgot to
matrix.
change it back. Thank you. I forgot I have 2 screens and you don't. So on this page, we are just looking at here, this one about the idea matrix. As you read through it, if you scroll to the very bottom of the page, there's links for the same downloads here. So if I click on this one right here, it'll open up the download for that exact same document. So you can find it either going to the assignments folder and then downloading it right here, or it's on that textbook page, just right here at the very bottom of the page. So this one, again, I know it looks weird. So that's the more complicated one. I know this looks weird, but it really, really can be helpful. I know a lot of people hate outlines because they just don't like to do them. And this is a form of outline, but this also really helps you take stuff you've already done, like your free writing and your brainstorming, and just figure out how you can organize it and then add details. This is also nice because you see you have details for, let's say you have these 3 details, and for the second one, you only have 1, and for the third one, you only have 1. Well, it tells you where you need to spend more time thinking of more stuff on these ones. If these are all blank, spend more time and energy focusing on coming up with details for this one right here, right? And most people instead, they'll just sit in front of a computer and stare at what they've already written and just stare and stare. And just staring at what you've already written doesn't help generate new ideas. So if you're having trouble completing the details for this, again, that writing process is circular. So you can always go back to free writing or go back to brainstorming and then just brainstorm some details that'll support whatever supporting idea you're struggling coming up with details for. So you can always do more free writing or more brainstorming or more clustering or any of that stuff to help you generate more content once you've already started with it. It's a constant back and forth with really good writing. And as writing becomes more complicated, as your topics become even more sophisticated, and then as we say, okay, now let's use all this outside information in your essay as well, you want to be able to organize all that information. And this is a really good way to start doing it. All right. So even if you struggle with this, kind of push through and make yourself finish it. I can almost guarantee you'll be happy in the long run that you did. Other questions about the idea matrix? All right. So we're looking at the schedule. Excuse me. Don't forget, so the clustering or the mapping diagram you want to submit by Friday morning, and the idea matrix you want to do by Monday morning. Again, all the stuff you've already written for the free writing, for the brainstorming, and all the stuff you're going to write for the clustering or the mapping, you can directly plug into your idea matrix. So depending on how strong or how well you did with all those other pre-writing assignments, your idea matrix might just be a bunch of copying and pasting from your other documents already. So don't not do that. Don't feel like you're copying yourself or something like that. The purpose of pre-writing is to help you gear towards an essay. So the purpose of the clustering and the brainstorming and the free writing is to make it easier to complete an idea matrix for your essay topic. All right. So definitely use all the stuff you've already used moving ahead with that. With these other ones, I already talked a little bit about this, but thesis sentence definition, parts of a thesis sentence. The textbook for this class calls it a thesis sentence. A thesis statement is the exact same thing. There's not a difference between a thesis sentence and a thesis statement, all right? But so on these ones, so like this one, thesis sentence definition, it says sentence because early on in writing, your thesis statement was usually one sentence, but it doesn't have to just be one. It can often be more than one sentence. So that's why I prefer thesis statement, because a statement implies not necessarily one sentence, but they're exactly the same thing, right? But this is just a quick little overview about what it actually is. But I do like this one right here. So this is kind of a visual representation of all the different parts of an essay. So we have your thesis statement, which is connected to your conclusion. In between them, you have your topic sentences. So each one of these little blue rectangles are body paragraphs. Within these body paragraphs, you have details. So you can already visually see how this looks very similar to the idea matrix, right? Topic sentence 1, well, that's just that main supporting idea. And then you have your boxes of details, right? If you have more topic sentences or more supporting ideas, you would just have more blue boxes. If you have more details to support each one of these topic sentences, you would just have more of these purple boxes for details here. So this looks a lot like the idea matrix. It's just a different way to kind of visualize it, right? So if you think about your thesis as being in control of all of this stuff, it'll make sure that your thesis is a more accurate thesis statement, that it's a working thesis, but it's most likely going to be really close to your final thesis statement as well. Because you know, if it supports or if it tells the reader that all of these things are coming up, that it's an accurate thesis statement, right? So I know a lot of people like visuals. This is just another good visual to look at, right? And you can read more about this one. Again, this one was just thesis sentence definition. And it sounds weird, but parts of a thesis, because there's not that many of them. These are all you need for a thesis, right? You need a topic. You need what the essay is about. Typically, this is a noun. It's a person, a place, or a thing, right? That's just the topic. That's the thing that the essay is about, right? And every essay you've ever written has a topic, but not every essay you've ever written has an angle, right? And increasingly, the angle is where that sophisticated part comes into play. As we talked about a little bit, and as you hopefully read, that sophisticated essay writing is really hinged on how you talk about the topic. That's the angle, right? So if the angle is your idea about the topic, and I'm going to read this because it's pretty important. This second part, your idea, your insight, your claim, your argument, any one of those about the topic is the important characteristic in creating a thesis for a college essay. The angle makes a promise to your reader about your insights into your claim, your logical argument, your ideas, whatever it is you want to say about that, right? So your angle in your thesis indicates and controls what the rest of the essay will be about, right? So if I had a really simple thesis statement, right? Let's say my topic is dogs, right? If I said, I like dogs, my topic is dogs, and my angle is, I like them, right? So even in such a simple thesis statement as that, I have a topic and I have an angle. That is not a sophisticated thesis, right? I like dogs. That is not sophisticated. That's a personal essay. And even if I'm a really, really great writer with an amazing vocabulary and I make amazing compound complex sentences, it's still just about me liking dogs, right? That is never going to become sophisticated, right? But if instead I really want to write about dogs, but I need something sophisticated, that's when you think about the angle. Well, what's a different angle about dogs that would become a sophisticated topic, right? So if you think about sophistication, one of the things to think about is, well, what can I claim? What can I argue that someone else might disagree with? Already it's getting more sophisticated, because if someone can say something different about my topic than what I'm saying, you already are getting a certain level of sophistication. So let's say my thesis statement is, nobody under the age of 18 should be allowed to have a dog. How many of you right now are going to be really upset with me because you had a dog at 5 and you were a great dog owner and you loved it, right? If it makes somebody angry, it might be working towards a good sophisticated thesis statement, right? And on the surface, that seems like an odd statement. No one under the age of 18 should be allowed to own a dog, right? But then if I write my entire essay about how many dogs are hurt or killed or put to sleep because their owner, who was under 18, either didn't know how to take care of them, were too lazy to take care of them, or were just generally mean and mistreated their dogs. Well, now you're like, well, I kind of disagree with your premise that people under 18 shouldn't have dogs, but I kind of agree with your premise that those kind of people shouldn't, right? And now it becomes complicated because there's not an easy yes or no answer. And that's how you can take a very simple topic like dogs and have a good, sophisticated and debatable angle about it. And all of you, if you didn't already have that kind of thesis statement, I would have told you based on what I saw in your free writing and your brainstorming, right? So all of you are already on the right track. But it's easy to just think about that. When you're looking at your thesis statement, say, okay, what is my topic? What is the angle that I'm taking about this topic? And as long as you can clearly answer those questions, you're off to a great running start. Then as you do more thinking, or if you do a bunch of reading or research and your angle changes a little bit, that's when you go back and you revise your thesis. You tweak it a little bit more until it's exactly what your essay is going to be about, right? So it is a back and forth. You don't just write your thesis statement at the top of your paper one time and it stays the same forever, right? It's possible, but very doubtful. So you want to get used to always double checking. If you write a body paragraph or you do your idea matrix and say, well, okay, is my thesis still really the main idea of all of this? If it is, great. If it's not, tweak the thesis a little bit, make those little changes to make sure your thesis is still the main idea of the entire paper. Questions about the parts of a thesis? All right. And it should be pretty basic. Most of this should be review, but it's been a while. I just want to make sure to cover all of that. Within here, so you can review this one and this one to get a lot more information. We're going to continue talking about thesis statements next week. So talking about characteristics, talking about some more examples, how to develop a working thesis. If you're really struggling with a thesis statement, you can go ahead and read these ahead of time. All right. But I'm just going to use these for some more examples. We're going to look at your actual thesis statements. We're going to talk about, which ones are stronger, which ones might be a little bit weaker, how to take a weaker thesis and improve it. Why is this thesis statement strong? Why is it working really, really well? And then some of the pitfalls to be really wary of in terms of your thesis statements. Because it is one of the first things the reader sees. You want to make sure that it's as accurate and as strong as you can make it. All right. Excuse me. So again, for these, because it's important, I want to make sure I give you guys time for it. So you want to do the clustering, the mapping by Friday, right? And the idea matrix, I would say, because you already have a lot of the information you can use for both of these, don't wait until Sunday to work on this one. Because if you struggle with it and you email me like Sunday night, I'm probably not getting back to you in time, right? So try to work on these, at least start to make sure that you understood everything I was talking about today. If you don't, or if it kind of makes sense now, but then by the time you work on it, you forget, remember, you can always go back into the learning modules and reread these. You can watch the videos for these different ones as well if it helps you. And if you struggle with something, again, send me an email, ask me a question about it. Just make sure by Friday morning you submit the clustering or the mapping, and then by Monday morning you submit the idea matrix. Right. Questions or comments about any of those? All right. Well, if anything comes up between now and then, definitely let me know. If you need help with anything, definitely let me know. I'm going to give you the rest of the class to work on this or to do whatever else you need to work on. So I will see y'all on Monday. Have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you, Professor Topping.